you go.
Thank you. Look, I just wanted to let you know
Enjoy.
that Michael is so much deeper than those other guys, like Dahmer and that bitch Bundy, because he eats at the core of the victim's soul. You know how people ostracize
All
those?
right, well, thanks,
so
Jeff,
many
so much,
people.
man.
That
You're the
really
man.
means a
You're
lot.
the man.
You're the man.
All right.
You're the man, dude. You're awesome.
you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Howdy, everybody. I'm John,
I'm Justin.
and we're
Gore
Goblins, the show where we talk about horror movies that we love
And some we don't.
and some we've probably never heard of. And I'm gonna let Justin tell everybody what we watched today. Justin, what did we watch today, huh?
Today, we watched Halloween 2. Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there's good parts to it, but overall, it's terrible. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's more of a mixed bag for me. Again, I'm shocked that I even like a little bit of it, but there's too much clutter.
Yeah. It drags on for fucking ever.
Yeah, it's too long. There's too much clutter, and heavy spoilers, obviously. This movie came out like fucking 13 years ago. Who cares? It doesn't matter. None of this matters. But, yeah, this movie, I don't know. It's something, let me tell you.
It's like a Rob Zombie music video.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah, I could say, George, what's up? My cat came to... He's going to lay in his spot now that Justin's not sitting in it anymore. Yeah, so this movie came out in 2009, written and directed by Rob Zombie. It's a sequel that he did not want to make. He had every intention of Michael dying at the end of the first one, which makes a lot of sense. And it's kind of funny to me that that every second movie of a reboot has been bad. The only exception to that rule for me and you anyway is Halloween Kills. A lot of people would disagree with that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel the fire brewing.
But that's the exception to the rule for us. But Halloween 2, John Carpenter didn't want to make it, and it showed. Halloween Resurrection was Halloween Resurrection. If you want to count Halloween 5 in that, except for Justin. Justin likes it. And then this Halloween 2, yeah, he didn't want to make it. But the Weinsteins kind of threatened him by saying, like, well, we'll just get somebody else to do it. And it was originally going to be these two French directors, the same duo that directed Leatherface, actually. And they directed Inside, and that's why Dimension wanted them to direct this. I haven't seen Inside. I don't know what it's about. I didn't do any research on it. I don't know if it's good. Tell me if it's good. Just shoot a comment or something. I don't know if you've seen it. What are the names of these fucking directors? It's gonna bother me if I don't look it up.
Leatherface was all right.
Yeah, Leatherface, from what I remember, from the bits I've seen of it, looks pretty all right. Yeah, Julian Mari and Alexandre Bustillo were in negotiations. Or Bustillo, I don't know if that's, I don't care. They were in negotiations to direct it, and then Rob Zombie was like, fine, I'll fucking come back because I don't want anybody to like ruin what I started, right? Fair, that's fair. But then Rob Zombie kind of ruined what he started.
Because he didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, and he had already, it's a tale as old as time, you know? A director or a writer creates something great, and then because it makes money, they want to make more of them, much to the chagrin of the director and or writer. It happened with John Carpenter. It happened with Sam Raimi with the Spider-Man movies. It happened with Rob Zombie with this. And Rob Zombie already didn't really like his experience working with the Weinsteins in the first Halloween. Because he had a lot of complaining in the commentary on that about just how like the studio interference is what bothered him. I think I mentioned it last time they kept trying to get him to like insert scenes that were like carbon copies of the original, but he didn't want to do it because he wanted to do his own thing. And with this movie, Malik Akkad told him like, hey, just, my father has this list of rules that you have to follow, or he had this list of rules that you have to follow when you make a Halloween movie. One of them being Michael can't die. He's like, but just, do whatever you want. He's like, I trust you. That first movie made a lot of money. Do whatever you want. But the Weinsteins kept butting in and trying to make it a certain type of way. And yeah, I think Rob Zombie just didn't really give a shit, because I in the commentary he was talking about how they made him like he had a shooting schedule, and they just like crippled that because they wanted it to come out at a certain point in time. So, like, from what I read, Rob Zombie literally like ripped out pieces of the script in anger because he knew he wouldn't be able to film them, and he was just like pissed off the entire time. And you know, it just bugs me because this happens a lot with studio interference in movies. That's why I like movies where the director very obviously has free reign over everything. The Happy Death Day movies are good examples of that, because those movies are fun, super fun, quirky, you know, little slashers. Zack Snyder's Justice League was better than the original. I know you don't like it, Justin, but it is better than the original.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. The Whedon cut was awful.
There's
all
no
right?
good about those movies.
All right, listen, okay? But yeah, studio interference is bad.
PS2 virtual effects, whatever.
Listen, all right? Okay, anyway, I'm not getting into this right now. We have this argument like every other week.
Dark Side looks like a burnt mushroom.
Listen, he's Dark Side. I love him. Anyway, so, yeah, I don't like studio interference at all. Because it ruins movies. It ruins creative visions. Not that the creative vision for this movie was great to begin with, but, you know, it's the more you know, right? But this movie, like the last one, also had a theatrical cut that is a lot more different than the director's cut this time around. And Rob Zombie was very adamant that the director's cut is his preferred version of the movie, although in recent interviews, from what I've read, he doesn't really... He kind of disowned these two movies. I don't know if that's because of what happened with the Weinsteins or just because he just... His like memories with it are so tainted by the fact that there was so much studio interference that he doesn't like them anymore. But either way, he disowned the movies much like the fans did, which is a shame because that first one's pretty all right. This one's a lot more of a mixed bag. And one of the things that stuck out the most to me and Justin specifically was the inclusion of these not dream sequences. They're hallucinations, because Michael is crazy. Get it?
He got shot in the head.
He's crazy. Get it? Well, see, that's the thing. is like I said, Rob Zombie had every intention for Michael to die. Like that's why I think that original ending was so like explicitly him dying when he gets shot up, like in Jason Lives, and you know. Then the studio was like, well, we want a sequel. Leave it open-ended. But, like, he still intended for Michael to get shot in the head by Laurie. Like, that was the end. And so, yeah, he just miraculously survives. I guess he got shot in the cheek, even though there's, like, no wound there at all. Whatever. He even said in the commentary, he's like, I could have sat here and tried to explain it. He's like, but whatever. He comes back. It doesn't matter. He's Michael. I don't give a shit. Like, he literally said something more or less like that. And so he has these hallucinations about like this white horse shit. And
first it's because
and his mom too
gives him a white horse for Christmas.
Yeah, so you have this little retcon scene with a child actor that looks nothing like Dake Fairsh. What's his name? Hold on, I got it here.
He sounded like him.
He sounded like him a little bit, yeah, but he didn't look like him. Chase Wright Vanek was young Michael Myers in flashbacks and in these hallucinations, and he speaks for Michael in these hallucinations, which is kind of goofy. It just feels weird, but yeah, there's these I keep calling them dream sequences. There's these hallucinations that myself and a lot of other fans feel like are in the movie just so Sherry Moon Zombie can be in it again, because she died in the first one. So, you know, and Rob Zombie in the commentary was like, yeah, I just kind of came up with this idea on a whim. The white horse thing specifically, I think the hallucinations were always there because he wanted to show how Michael sees the world, and towards the end when Laurie starts seeing the same thing, he wanted to show that like through their the fact that they're siblings makes it to where they have a similar psychosis or whatever. I guess I don't know. It's just funny how in the first movie he kept talking about how he didn't want to demystify Michael, and then he kind of like demystified him completely with the sequel. But the white horse thing was like something he said he came up with on a whim while he was driving to work, driving to set, and he saw like this white horse in a field, and he said, and I quote, "It looked very surreal, and I thought that would be cool to incorporate it." So they very quickly put together that shot, that retcon shot of Debbie bringing him the horse doll, the horse toy, and all that shit. And I think it's supposed to like represent like Michael's innocence being like destroyed or something after his mom died. I don't fucking care. I don't know, man.
It's stupid.
It feels unnecessary. It just pads the movie. Like Justin, what did you say while we were watching?
It was just padding for the movie.
Yeah, it's just padding. Like it doesn't add to anything. Like you could take those scenes out and the movie would still be effective.
Yeah.
Like completely. Like, and it would actually be better because then you wouldn't know Michael's motivations, which again is what makes him scary in the first place. But you know, they didn't do that. So I just think it kind of made it a mess. And yeah, I don't know how much of that was studio interference. I don't know what the studio interference was or anything like that. But yeah, I don't know. It just felt blech. But and it's worse in the director's cut. At least the hallucination stuff, because there's a lot of differences between the two, but that's one of them. Is that there's a couple of extra scenes where you see ghost Sherry and little baby ghost Michael too. There's a lot of alternate and deleted scenes too that are interesting to say the least. I don't know, like there's a completely like it feels like there were multiple versions of this movie that were shot.
There probably were.
And just like, I don't know. And then it just got all fucked because of the studio and because of, I don't know. It's just a mess. This movie's a mess and it feels like a mess. That's my point. But yeah, one of the biggest differences in the theatrical cut is in this movie, Laurie, once again played by Scout Taylor Compton, is kind of crazy. And by kind of crazy, I mean like she's like, angry,
insane in the membrane,
insane in the brain, yes, but she's like angry, very angry. She's like cussing at Annie every day, and poor Annie, you know, she has to deal with it. She's Danielle Harris again, Brad Dourif's Sheriff Brackett again, and Laurie's living with them because her family's fucking dead. So,
no, her brother's alive.
Yeah, her brother's alive. I guess that's something. But yeah, in the theatrical cut, she comes off a lot more likable, because she doesn't really have any like psychotic breaks until the end. But in this one, it's very much more, I guess, realistic as to what recovery's like, because you're not exactly happy when you're recovering from trauma. I can tell you that. You're not a go-getter. You're kind of a wreck. And a miserable one at that.
It would have made more sense, like you said, if the theatrical version has less of her being a bitch, then it would have made more sense that after she finds out that Michael's her brother and that she's part of that family, that she breaks.
Yeah,
that makes more sense than her just being an ass the entire fucking movie.
Yeah, because she's 100% an asshole.
Because like Annie says, you're not the only ones whose life was fucked up by this shit. Like,
yeah,
it's not all about you.
Yeah. But when you're like, I guess for me, like when you go through something that traumatic, you feel like it's only you, and it's hard to like look outside of yourself. I guess you kind of live in your own little bubble. I'm talking from experience here. This is just me, and everybody's different. But like, I would tend to like kind of only focus on how I felt, and I didn't really care how everybody around me felt. And I was just like fucking miserable the entire time.
See, I did the opposite.
And it's not until you take a step back that you realize, oh wow, I'm kind of being a cunt. Like then you realize, like, oh, it was me.
I couldn't give a fuck how I felt.
Yeah, but I don't want to get too sappy here, but like that's like for me, it's more relatable. But like I can see how like thematically it would be better if she had that break later on. But it definitely feels more raw, I think. And I think that's what Rob wanted. but I think that's where the studio interference came in, because I can see like the producers being like, well, if she's not likable, nobody's gonna like the movie, like that kind of shit. And so there was that, and there's like I'm trying to think of what else was different. The main difference is how Laurie is, and then there's a couple different lines of dialogue. There's a couple scenes that are cut out, like during the hospital sequence at the beginning, the dream sequence, that pit of bodies that she falls into isn't there in the theatrical cut.
Yeah, that kind of did feel like just something that was thrown in there just because.
Yeah, I think Rob Zombie in the commentary described it as like he wanted to, he didn't say that it was explicitly a hint that it was a dream sequence. He said more like, I just kind of wanted it to be like, oh, where's everybody else in the hospital? And it was like, well, that's where they are. Michael killed all of them and put them in this pit. And I'm like, that's more, I don't know. It seems like a reach.
Yeah, because when Laurie's walking back to her room, that nurse gets called somewhere. So obviously everyone wasn't dead.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's weird. It's weird movie shit. Who cares? But that's one of the differences. That part where she's yelling, the dialogue with the therapist is completely different. Like, completely different. That scene where she's yelling at her therapist about how she doesn't give a fuck about her was absent from the theatrical cut. And the scene that's, like, spliced, like, intertwined with it is just another scene. And it's supposed to be, like... I actually like this part more in the theatrical cut because it's what you were talking about. She doesn't have that break until she finds out that she's Michael's sister. So she's like having a nice day. She sees the weird Frankenstein man, old Big Lou, played by, what's his name? He was in the first movie too. Where's the name? The name's like right here, you big goof. Where the fuck? I'm having trouble Daniel Roebuck, that's his name. God damn it, it was on the tip of my tongue. And he's like big Frankenstein man trying to advertise a strip club to children. I think it's weird. And then she like goes to the petting zoo and pets a pig, and then she goes to the bookstore.
She wanted to take it home.
Yeah, she wanted to take it home.
The pig.
The pig. Yeah, obviously not Big Lou. But then she goes to the bookstore and gets the book, finds out, and that's when she breaks. And that's when the whole sequence of events with her being like, I don't give a fuck anymore. I'm Michael's sister. I'm fucked. Like all that shit. And then they still go to the party dressed as characters from Rocky Horror Picture Show, which the reason Harley, who is played by, what's her name? Because she looks real familiar, but I don't know what else I've seen her in. Where the fuck? Why can't I see these names? Angela Trimber. Trimber. Yeah, she keeps referring to Frankenfurter as the fact that she's a chick that's dressed as a dude that wants to be a chick. But first of all, this is a gay man alert here. First of all, Frankenfurter, as far as I can remember, doesn't want to be a chick. I think he's just a transvestite, which means he just likes to dress in drag. But whatever, I could be wrong. I haven't seen Rocky Horror in a minute. But I'm pretty sure he didn't want to be a woman. I'm pretty sure he was like just trying to, push the limits of, his identity or whatever. I don't know. I don't remember. It's been a minute. But the reason that she was doing that obtuse explanation was because I don't think they could legally say Frankenfurter's name because they didn't get the rights to it. So she had to just they had to dance around it. But they were all dressed like characters from Rocky Horror. I can't tell you which character was which outside of Frankenfurter because, again, it's been a while. But they were all dressed as characters from Rocky Horror. And they still go to the party and all that shit's the same. And then
the whole party scene drags on for way too long.
Yeah, guess what? In the director's cut, there's more stuff with Seymour Coffins, everybody's favorite drunk MC, which I'm going to talk about him later, because, boy, was that something. And then after that, everything plays out the same. I think when Sheriff Brackett finds Annie's body, there's just no sound. It's just the music, which... isn't as effective, I feel. Also, those scenes of young Danielle Harris aren't there either. And then the ending is completely different. So the ending almost plays out the same. Loomis still goes inside of the shack, and tries to talk Michael out of it, but Michael just beats the living shit out of him while he's inside the shack. And I mean, the man's brain is exposed. Like, he beats the shit out of him. And then I think, like, Lori somehow stumbles her way into pushing Michael into, like, barbed wire that stabs him and impales him. And then she tells him that she loves him before she stabs him with his knife. And then she's wearing Michael's mask. And then she walks out of the shack. And I don't think she dies. I think, if I remember right, I think she just kind of gets, like, you just get the fade into the ending of her in the fucking asylum, right? That white-walled asylum. That's the theatrical ending. That's what everybody saw, including my cousin, who hated this movie when he saw it, when they went to go see the theatrical version. And the director's cut, though, what happens is Loomis goes into the shack, and he's yelling at Lori to stop, freaking out.
Because she thinks Kid Michael is holding her down, all that shit.
Yeah, because she's hallucinating too, because she's crazy too. Get it? Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool how the whole family's crazy? Wow. Anyway, so she does that, and then it goes into the it hard cuts to an exterior shot of the cabin or whatever, the little barn, whatever it is.
It's a cabin.
And it's just quiet. And I like that. I like that it's quiet. I like the director's cut ending more, if we're going to be fair here. It's just quiet. And then Michael just fucking busts out of the side of the wall with Loomis. And then he takes his mask off. And Loomis pleads at Michael to just calm the fuck down, basically. And then Michael says,
Die.
Yeah. He says, die. And then he stabs Loomis in the gut. And then they fucking light him up. They fucking shoot him to shit. They Swiss cheese him, if you will. And then Michael dies. And then Lori comes out, completely like stoic. She grabs Michael's big ass knife, and she like walks over Loomis, and then some cop just pops her. And then that's it.
They shoot her like 3 times.
They shoot her like 3 times. She dies. She's dead. And then it fades into that asylum thing, which is Rob Zombie confirmed it, but it's easy to assume that it's just her, like, her brain going through the last, like, little things before it, dies, before the electric ham wears out. You know what I'm saying? So that's and I like that ending more because the shot composition's better. It's more effective. It's got that cool cover of Love Hurts playing in the background.
I don't like that song.
That mirrors the part in the first one. Justin doesn't like music, so
I do. Just
so
not that song.
Justin doesn't like music. That's the ending to that one. I like that ending more. I think.
I mean, I feel Loomis deserved a more brutal death just because of how he was in this movie.
Yeah, Loomis is a much bigger asshole in this one than he was in the first one. And the director's cut has like extra scenes of him being a giant asshole. So that's always fun, right? You love those extra scenes of Loomis just being a dick for no fucking reason. All he cares about is money. And all that other stuff. I also want to talk about how there's this extended scene where I guess I can talk about that when we talk about the kills and stuff later. But this movie is something, let me tell you. Those fucking those hallucinations really kill it for me. That's like my biggest gripe with it. I think that's most people's biggest gripe with it. Because they're just...
I mean, that in the movie, the entire movie just feels kind of draggy. You got those stupid scenes of Michael walking and all that shit, and it's like...
It's a lot of filler. It's a lot more filler than anything else. I will say the best things about this movie are, once again, Michael's brutality. That's like the only... But Michael isn't really scary in this one. Like, in the first one, he's fucking scary. Like,
yeah.
Because he's stalking and he's busting through shit. And this one, he's kind of just a dude trying to get from one place to the other, and he's killing people on the way because he's mad, I guess. I don't know. He's just an angry boy. Angry man.
Just because the hallucination said the way home is through a river of blood or something like that.
Yeah, it's what you compared it to Friday the 13th, right?
Yeah, the whole mom thing, but
But it's done better in that because it's simple
yeah.
and it's not like drawn out and weird. But yeah, like there's not a lot to talk about with this one because it's just gonna be us like ragging on it and wishing it was better. Like that's
I mean, I don't wish it was better. I just wish
uh,
it wasn't existing.
yeah, because he didn't want to make it.
Just like the original Halloween 2 didn't want to be made.
Oh, and that's the thing. I was reading about how a lot of people assumed that hospital sequence at the beginning was like an homage to the original Halloween 2.
That's what I thought.
But then Rob Zombie said, "I don't even like Halloween 2." He's like, "I don't even like Halloween 2. It's not what that was. That was just it just made sense, I guess." Octavia Spencer's in that opening scene though. Love me some Octavia Spencer. She's a great actress, and she dies. She gets killed in a horrible way, much like everybody else in this movie. The kills in this one are really brutal. I know this one was shot on 16mm film, which same thing with Devil's Rejects, and it's kind of funny because House of a Thousand Corpses and Halloween were both shot on 35mm, and then Devil's Rejects and this were both shot on 16mm. The reasoning being for both was because he wanted the movie to look grittier and have like a more grainy look to it, like more of a home movie look to it, right? And yeah, I guess I don't know.
I couldn't tell.
It's a stylistic choice. I guess it's whatever. I don't really. It's just a funny thing that I read. I'm like, oh yeah, that's funny. Devil's Rejects was the same way. But yeah, the kills in this are really brutal. Very, very brutal. This might be the shortest episode yet because I feel like a bulk of us is actually a bulk of it's probably going to be about the kills because that's where a lot of the alternate scenes come in, and that's where a lot of the different takes and stuff that they were doing kind of come into play. But it's a lot more violent than the first one. But
Is it?
It doesn't have a lot of the. Yeah, I thought so.
I don't feel so.
I thought it was. I mean, but it doesn't have any of the tension. Like it doesn't have any of the tension or surprise that the first one had, which was amazing that it had that, even though it was just a remake.
You know what else was lacking?
What?
Music.
Yeah, there was no. So the score wasn't great. It was kind of just a basic horror score. I don't know. There's this one thing that. Well, you tell him, Justin. You tell him about the thing that kept reminding you of that Slipknot song.
Every time, like, the ghost of his mom and young Michael pop up, it just makes a sound that sounds like the beginning to the song "Unsainted" by Slipknot, and that's all I kept thinking about every time I heard it.
And then after Justin pointed it out, it's all I heard.
Which is a good song. Fuck you, Josh.
Well, listen, is he listening to this?
He might.
Well, that's for Josh. That's Justin's brother. He loves his brother, I think. Anyway, but yeah, and it happened a lot because there's a lot of fucking scenes with his mom.
Every other time he's on screen, she pops up.
God, I don't care.
It's almost time, Michael. It's almost time to go home.
And then young Michael talk. Yeah, I already mentioned young Michael talks for Michael. I don't like that. It feels weird. It feels goofy. I don't know. It just feels goofy. I don't like it. It doesn't. It feels like a parody. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I didn't think it was gonna bug me this much because I like terrible shit in bad movies sometimes, but it really bugged me just because I think it was boring and it didn't really serve a purpose is the main thing because it absolutely did not serve a purpose.
It doesn't serve a purpose to a Halloween movie.
No, like just have Michael just stroll around gutting people. Like I was thinking the whole time I was watching, I was like, man, if you just cut out the mom shit, I feel like this would just be an okay movie.
Yeah.
Just an okay movie. It still wouldn't be as good as the first one. But it would be okay. It wouldn't
just be Michael making his way downtown, killing fast, having a blast.
Yeah, see, just like that.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, cue the piano, baby. Speaking of killing, though, I guess we'll talk about that because that's because a lot of these scenes are kind of tied into the to the other stuff I want to talk about. So one of the other things in the director's cut is the opening's a little different. It's just like extra lines of dialogue between those two scummy coroners.
Only one of them was scummy.
Played by but Dayton Callies made that one joke. Richard Brake was the scumbag though, 100%.
He was in the Doom movie.
Richard Brake even looks like fucking disgusting. I don't know how to describe it. He's in 3 from Hell. I think he's in 31 too. Who cares? Anyway, so I don't like Rob Zombie that much. It's like these are probably that first Halloween's maybe the only movie that I like legitimately enjoy by him. But yeah, they play these two coroners. They're the first deaths in the movie because they're picking up the bodies. They take
the first actual deaths because
the
nurse gets killed in Laurie's dream.
Yeah,
when she's in the hospital.
But that happens after that.
No, it doesn't.
Does it?
I don't remember.
It doesn't. See, that's what we're talking about.
I'm already forgetting the movie.
That's what I'm talking about. See? So, yeah.
So they're taking Michael's body in a van.
And making some obscene jokes because this is a Rob Zombie movie. That's another thing I don't like about this one is the dialogue is... It's a lot more grating in this one than it was in the first one.
Yeah. Because the effect wore off, you're just like... Okay, I get it in the first movie, and then the second movie, you're just like, okay, I get it. Like, shut up.
Like,
think of something better to say.
Because they take Linda's body because it was there at the Strode house, not the Strode house, at the Myers house, and they take Michael's body because he's dead or whatever. And like Richard Brake's talking about how he wants to fuck her corpse or whatever, and he's just like, I've never had the temptation until now, and. Oh, he's just saying a bunch of gross shit that I don't want to repeat. And then Dayton Callies is just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And he was, it was nice to see him in this, though, because he's the sheriff from Sons of Anarchy. He was the sheriff, right? Or was he just a deputy?
He was the sheriff.
He was the sheriff? Okay. And then does he lose his job? I don't remember. Spoilers for Sons of Anarchy. But
he has to retire because he had cancer.
That's right. He's one of the ones that makes it out, right?
No, he dies.
Does he?
Yeah.
When does he die?
Jax kills him before he kills Gemma.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that.
It's because he was hiding Gemma, so he was like, get out of my way. He was like, I'm not going to do that, son. So he pops him twice.
I do not remember that. I remember Gemma, but I do not remember him killing the... What the... Okay, well, doesn't matter. Sorry if
you haven't watched something.
Sorry if we spoiled a fucking show that ended like 7 years ago. But that's why I very quickly said spoilers for Sons of Anarchy. I hope people heard it though. Anyway, so yeah, so they're talking about all this shit, and then Richard Brake is laughing at a joke that Dayton Callies makes that I don't want to.
He's like, cow.
That I don't want to repeat. Yeah, and then Richard Brake's like, cow, just like that. He cuts him off and everything.
Cow.
And then
there's a cow in the road.
And then they hit the cow. And the cow fucking explodes real comically.
Well, no. First, when it first impacts, like it just sits still. It's like a brick just moves.
But it made me laugh because it just looks so goofy.
And then when it cut again to the front and like it actually showed the cow, then it looked different. But when they initially hit it, it looked like they just hit like a solid piece of something that just moved.
So Rob Zombie, in his complaining about how the shooting schedule was cut. He just said that this production was like plagued with a bunch of different issues. One of the issues being stuff like, we could never we always ran out of time to film at night because we were working during the shortest nights of the year, and there's a couple scenes later on where like you can see the sky like getting like a lighter blue because they just had to like fucking hurry up, and this cow scene was one of them. Because they could not get the crash to happen the way that they wanted. Like, what would happen is the truck would literally hit the cow and just, like, fucking, like, it was hitting a brick wall. The cow would not fly the way they wanted. And he's like, eventually we got it. He's like, it took forever, but eventually we got it. And one thing I will say about this movie is just like the first one, I'm glad everything's practical.
Yeah.
Because the practical effects are going to age the best. And they're gonna look the best.
You see, just getting sidetracked. I was rewatching Doctor Strange the other day.
Yeah, the first one.
No.
Oh, Multiverse of Madness. Spoilers for that, I guess.
No, I'm not gonna spoil anything.
Never mind.
But just the effects, like they look great on my TV and all that. They're like I love how it looks, but it just misses something. Like especially when there's a physical object that they could have done real.
Yeah.
Like the cars getting flipped around, like that just looks so bad.
I mean, that's my problem with a lot of MCU movies in general.
They didn't really start doing that until the later ones.
Yeah, that's true. Because Iron Man had a lot of practical effects.
Iron Man had a lot of practicals. Captain America.
But like, it's funny because these movies, first of all, they make billions off of these movies, and like, it's almost a guarantee that it's gonna break more than even. So I don't know why they take the cheap way out with computer animation and don't just do practical effects. For something like Doctor Strange, especially, like in the trailer when this isn't a spoiler because it was in the trailer, but when his eye opens, that could have been a practical eye, and that would have been a much better effect than it just being like a shitty CGI. But I guess Sam Raimi can only do so much. I'm just glad his style was all over that movie. But there's definitely certain parts of that movie where there are practical effects where I'm glad they are.
Yeah.
But enough of Doctor Strange. So the practical effects in Halloween 2 for this scene are Dayton Callie's face is just fucked up.
I assume when they crashed, his mouth met the steering wheel.
Absolutely, he is missing his jaw.
Well, it's hanging there. You can see the bottom of his teeth.
Yeah, that's right. It's hanging, and then like his head's just like partially caved in. And I told Justin, I'm like, I guess they didn't have airbags because like. They should have deployed, but I guess coroner vans don't have airbags, at least not in this movie. And then Richard Brake is just like saying fuck a bunch because he's bleeding out of his mouth and he's got a cut on his forehead. And then Michael wakes up somehow. He just wakes up, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm Michael. I'm walking here." And he walks around, and he picks up a
piece of glass,
shard of glass. And he goes up to Richard Brake, and Richard Brake's like, "Help me!" And then he's like,
I'll help you.
All right. And then he just like
saws through his neck with a piece of glass.
Yeah, he just cuts his head off with a piece of glass. It's fucking ridiculous. I love it. And he just takes his head off, and the head looks great, by the way. Like again, the effects are fantastic. And he just, and then he sees his mom, and it ruins everything. He sees like his mom's ghost with his big ass horse. And all I could think of was that old fucking YouTube video that "Look at my horse is amazing." That's all I could fucking think of while I was looking at it. It's even better because in the commentary, Rob Zombie was talking about. He's like, "Yeah, I love that horse." He's like, "It thing's fucking huge," and he's like, "It almost doesn't look real just because it's sitting so still." And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess, Rob. I guess, dude. Just fucking do your vision. Cool." And then after that, what's next is the shit at the hospital. That's a dream sequence where Knights in White Satin plays over the on all the TVs and over the radios and shit. Which
I don't get the music choices in this movie.
Rob Zombie said he just picked songs that he liked.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that's fine because I like Knights in White Satin. I think it works for that scene at least. But then, Lori wakes up. She goes to see Annie, and Annie's all like cut up and shit. And then Octavia Spencer's like, "You got to go back to your room, Lori." And Lori's like, "Fine." And then somebody calls Octavia Spencer to the ER. And then Lori's like walking around, despite saying that she was fine.
And
she's walking around looking for medicine for her head or whatever. And then Octavia Spencer comes out from behind a door. And she's got like a slash across her face, which again is a great effect because it's practical. I love it. I love me some practical effects. And then she just starts screaming, which had to hurt because if your face is split open, like because it's like her like part of her nose was split open and then like part of her lips, so that shit had to hurt to scream. But she does, and then there's footage of her audition on the DVD, And she's just reading through her lines, and then she just like screams out of nowhere, and it's just I don't know, it's just like uncomfortably funny for me to watch people audition, because it's like, oh man, I know that they're just like, imagine having to be this vulnerable in this setting. It's awful, because I've had to audition. It's terrible. But yeah, then Michael comes out from behind the door because Octavia Spencer collapses and Laurie starts running away. And then Michael just stabs her a bunch of times.
Well, he goes in.
And I mean a bunch of he fucking like turns her into a shish kebab, you know what I'm saying?
You feel the force from his stabs.
Yeah, it's
And then Tyler Mane says that was his favorite kill too.
yeah, in interviews he said that. And she's just getting stabbed to shit, and then he like stabs her in the head with it and just leaves. And I noticed in this one you can hear him breathing a lot more when he's exerting
he's more
himself.
vocal.
He's a lot more vocal, which is why he says die at the end. Cool.
Which I don't like. I mean, grunting is fine because he did that in the originals at times.
Yeah,
but
and he does it in the new ones too.
But saying words, no.
But yeah, so then Laurie goes outside. She falls into a pit of bodies, like we mentioned earlier. And then she goes and tries to get an axe, and then Michael just
Wasn't she on the roof?
easily gets an axe. No, she was in the parking lot.
No, when she first got out of the hospital, wasn't that the roof?
No, she was on the first. No, because she went downstairs. Remember, she goes downstairs and she finds the body of that
And that hospital must have the weirdest layout ever.
that one nurse. She finds the body of this one nurse who has like her eyes out and part of her brain showing, I think. She's like scarecrowed on the stairs.
Yeah.
It's whatever. She's having a good time. And then Laurie goes down and down and down, and she leaves, falls into a pit of bodies, like we said. She gets outside into like this parking gate, I guess. And that was real rain. They did not have rain towers for that because the weather in Georgia was hectic, because that's where they filmed this for a tax incentive. And then Laurie goes into this little like shack through a window, and then this cop shows up whose name is Buddy, who's in the theatrical cut. She had a bear named Buddy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's supposed to be like part of the dream, is that she's imagining her bear trying to protect her or whatever. And it's funny because when she wakes up from one of the dream sequences, I think the dream sequence where she kills Annie, when she wakes up from that in the theatrical cut, she's like in bed and she's like Buddy Bear, what do you have to say? And then Buddy Bear's like, she does like this little voice, and she's like, don't worry, Laurie, that motherfucking cocksucker Michael Myers is dead. And then Laurie's like, oh, Buddy, you always know what to say. And I'm like, you're crazy. You're crazy. And so like, and then, I mean, but you don't even need to see that to know she's crazy. She's got a fucking giant-ass fucking mural of Charles Manson's mugshot on her wall. And then just in Charlie We Trust. And I'm like, I get it, Rob. You like Charles Manson. It's already pretty obvious that Loomis is supposed to be Vincent Pelosi. I get it. I get it, dude. Fuck off. Oh my God. Laurie's got like a tramp stamp now. She's just, her life's crazy. She's kooky. Everything's going south. God damn it. Anyway.
The whole decor of her room.
It's very chaotic. And I guess it makes more sense in the director's cuts, and she's so angry. I guess. Whatever. I don't know. She's an angry little girl. The dream sequences, yeah, there's also that one, and also in the dream sequence, I know I'm getting sidetracked here. I knew this was going to happen, because that's why I'm like, I can't think of anything to talk about. Let's just go to the kills. But now I'm mad again. So you have this dream sequence where she kills Annie, and then she has another dream within that dream where like fucking Mama Myers and Lil Michael are like looking at this like Last Supper type shit that Justin said looked like some shit out of House of a Thousand Corpses, and then like Michael's like, I found Boo, Mom. Ooh. And then like these fucking monsters' hands come and take Laurie away, and then like next thing you know, Laurie and Annie are like screaming obscenities at each other, and Laurie's got like an upside down cross on her forehead, and Annie's just, I don't know, bloody. And then like Laurie's in a glass coffin, and she very comically like tries to escape it, but it's like sped up film. It looks like shit. and then she wakes up screaming because she was on the toilet because she was getting ready to take a bath or whatever. Yeah. I didn't like that. Is my point. That's where I was going with it. I didn't like that.
Stupid.
Like it's fine. I don't care. Anyway, back to the main dream sequence. Buddy gets fucking chopped with an axe by old Mikey. He just fucking stabs him in the back with the axe and like really digs it in there. And then he's like, "Oh, I'm dead," and then he dies. And then Michael starts fucking going ham on the shack. Fun fact about this. This is another thing Rob Zombie complained about. He said he told the set construction people to make it out of like balsa wood so they could easily like break it down when Michael starts putting an axe through it. And he said that somehow that got lost in translation and they made it the sturdiest fucking shack that I think I've ever fucking seen in my life. He said, but luckily Tyler took it as a challenge and really tried to fucking tear it down. And he said that what they had to do was whenever they would hit it, they would like in between cuts, they would have to like get professional like tools to like tear down parts of the wall so that way it was more convincing that Michael was like doing all this damage. And then anyway, Michael breaks through there and tries to kill Laurie, and then, Laurie wakes up, and that's when we get our first glimpse of the home life and all that. And then who's next after that? I don't even remember, man. Who the fuck is next after that? After that, it's, damn, I don't know. I don't know who's after that.
Is it when he's walking in the field?
Oh, and fucking, okay, yeah, Bobby Elvis, yeah, fucking.
Another Sons of Anarchy character
yeah,
pops
fucking,
up.
what's his name? I know his name, but I don't know his name. What the fuck is
Jim
it?
Boone.
Is it Jim Boone? It's something Boone, right? It's Jim Boone? It's probably Jim Boone. Where the fuck?
I think.
Hold on, where the fuck? Hold on, I'm getting mad because I'm trying to figure
Just
this
like
out.
visualizing the opening to Sons of Anarchy in my head.
Mark Boone Jr.
Mark Boone.
As Floyd. Good old boy Floyd. Who the fuck? That was fucking okay. That's funny. Anyway, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But Boone and some girl and another guy Michael's just strolling. He not hurting anybody. He's just vibing. And it's funny because Mom said that like because she was listening to the last episode, and she was talking about how like when Lou Temple and his cousin go into that room and start raping that girl in front of Michael, Mom's like, "See, Jake, but they antagonize him. If they would just leave him alone, he wouldn't kill anybody." I'm like, "Mom, I knew you were going to fucking say that. I knew you were going to say that. Like, I knew, like, as I was saying it in the episode that you were going to try to I knew it." And she's going to say the same thing I can hear her. She's going to be like, "Well, if they had just let him walk, he wouldn't have hurt him." Yeah, Mom, I know, but he's still a killer. Like, he's still a psycho, whatever. Anyway, Mom loves Michael Myers. Anyway, so they just like start harassing him for no fucking reason.
Because he's walking in their field. He's like, "I told you if you came back here, we were gonna beat the shit out of you or whatever."
And then like they do. Like one dude like hits him with a bat a few times.
He treats it like he's having an orgasm too.
Yeah, he's having a great old time. Rob Zombie's dialogue is so, oh my god, his character writing and his dialogue is just. You got to be a certain kind of person to enjoy it. That's what I'm saying. Like you just have to like really like that trashy shit. And I mean, I love me some trashy shit. Don't get me wrong, but like, it's just so excessive.
Yeah, you've
with
watched
his
The
movies.
Thing.
Well,
No.
It's just so excessive in these fucking movies, man. But he says this, he swears every other word. But no, it's so they're beating him, and then you get this slow-mo shot of Michael putting his mask on, which there's a couple slow-mo shots in this sequence, and Rob Zombie said it's because he really wanted to milk it, I guess. And he puts his mask on. It's actually, I actually like that shot because it's that silhouette. He puts his hood down and he puts the mask on. By the way, Michael walks around unmasked for like 90% of this fucking movie. Yeah. A lot of people don't like that. It doesn't really bug me. It doesn't bug me as much as the ghost shit, but it's still like, it's kind of annoying, I guess. Anyway, Michael goes and slashes this dude's eyes with his knife. and then he just stabs him like really hard after that. Like he's just like, "Urgh!" Like he's just really like, it's like fucking Kratos, dude. He's just fucking, "Urgh!" And then he impales poor Bobby Elvis on some antlers on the hood of their truck because they're some good old boys. And then he just needlessly kills the girl. And he just stabs her a couple times and she dies. And that's that.
Now then he kills the dog.
He kills the dog and eats it.
Because he's hungry.
But we kind of see it this time. It's real dark. I don't
Which
know.
I don't...
Yeah, how do you feel about it, Justin? Tell us.
I get why he killed the dog. He's a psycho. And that goes into the whole whatever. And I mean, he ate dogs in every other movie. Except Resurrection when he ate rats. But
he did eat rats. Yeah.
I don't... While that's happening, there's also another scene going on of Lori, Annie, and Sheriff Brackett eating pizza.
Yeah, I want to talk about that
and
too.
Annie's complaining, you didn't get whole wheat crust or whatever. I guess they're like trying to be vegetarians or whatever.
Yeah,
of what happened.
I think Lori's traumatic experience has pushed her into being a vegan because she doesn't want to eat meat anymore.
And then the sheriff's like, oh well, there's always it's nature for man to eat meat. There's a little caveman in all of us.
Brad Dourif just really selling the hell. I love Brad Dourif. Just really selling the hell out of it.
And I like that because Michael looks like a fucking caveman.
Yeah, he
but then
does.
While this is happening in the same bit, Michael's eating the dog, and then Lori goes and throws up.
Yeah.
Like, is that trying to imply that she tasted what Michael was tasting?
See,
Like,
that's the thing is like
that's what I got from that scene.
I don't know. But one thing about that scene that I like is you know, because Lori says I'm starving like Marvin, and then Brad Dourif's like, you know, do we really ever find out like who the original Marvin is? Like, is it Lee Marvin? And Danielle Harris and Scout Taylor Compton did not know who Lee Marvin was. So like Rob Zombie said that it was very unscripted when Brad Dourif just started like explaining who Lee Marvin was. And he just like told this whole story about it, about how he misses the mark or whatever. And they're just kind of like looking at each other like, what the fuck? That's all genuine because they did not know who Lee Marvin was. And then, yeah, Lori goes and throws up because Michael's eating a dog. I don't know. It's weird.
Well, she mentioned pineapple too, so if she was eating pineapple on pizza, I understand that.
Listen, buddy, all right?
No.
Listen, buddy.
No.
Listen, buddy.
No.
Listen,
Pineapple
buddy.
does not go on pizza.
Listen, buddy. It ain't terrible, but it ain't great. Listen, buddy. It ain't terrible. But no, yeah, she throws up. And then like there's some funny deleted scenes of that where in the blooper reel, like Lori goes to throw up and the toilet seat falls on her head, like while she's doing it, and Danielle Harris is just like, oh sorry, like whoops, like trying to like fix it. It's pretty funny. So yeah, then Michael kills those guys, and then Michael just walks a lot. I don't think he kills anybody else until the rabbit in red, right? Like, is that the next part?
Yeah, that's the next bit where he kills people.
Yeah, because in between all of that, that's when Lori finds out about. This is already after Lori has like yelled at her therapist and shit, and she's
all the fucking Loomis parading around, being like,
"Oh yeah," and Loomis being an asshole. There's a scene too that's very where like there's this guy wearing a shirt that says WWMD, which in a deleted scene they talk about that. Where when they're asking him questions at that press conference, one of the ladies asks him like, "Have you seen people walking around with that shirt? Like, what do you think of that?" And then he just makes a joke in poor taste and whatever.
Everything he says in this movie was in poor taste.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a fucking despicable person in this movie. But yeah, there's this guy that comes up to him and he's like, "Oh yeah, what would Michael do?" He's like, he doesn't say anything about it, but it's just a shirt. It's like WWMD, and I'm like, I mean, that would happen. Like, that would totally happen. I mean, you see it with Charles Manson, but it's funny because then he starts, like, shit-talking Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy, which I think is hilarious for some reason. I don't know why. And he was played by Silas Wire Mitchell, who he looked familiar, too. I don't know what else he's been in, though. He was in My Name is Earl. That's probably where I seen him. And he was Chet, the bringer of death. And that's Chet with 2 T's, by the way. And then, like, Linda's dad comes in and tries to shoot him with a gun that isn't loaded. He's just doing like a little stunt. You know how it is. You know how dads are. Dads are crazy. I wouldn't know, but you know, dads are crazy.
You know, I get the whole. I think like.
And he was played by Robert Curtis Brown, who I know him from something else.
Something else.
And it's gonna bother me until I fucking figure it out. Hold on. He is in Barry. He was just in Barry. That's right. Playing another father. Yeah. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I know who he is. I know who he is now. Okay. What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
Like, I just hate the whole profiting off of other people's death thing. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
such a fucking stupid thing. Like, that's why I kind of don't like the based on true event military movies. It's like,
Yeah.
do you really want to depict what the family didn't see? Like, that's kind of fucked up when you think about it.
Yeah. I remember going off track again here. I remember that was a big thing when Band of Brothers came out, which is a great show, by the way. But, like, you had, it had the involvement of, like, all the surviving members of that specific platoon, which I think is why it was such a big deal. And, you know, they all gave it their blessing, but yeah, it's still fucked. Like,
Yeah.
to see that.
And
But
again, I'm not trying to offend military families or anything like that. I just don't like that that's the first thing some people think about.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to make a movie about this.
I mean, it's like all those true crime podcasts, you know, like where they just like talk almost gleefully about like these horrific things.
I mean, there's having interest in shit, but
uh,
find a line, you know, kind of.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah. But I mean, you know, that's why we watch horror movies too, because now we can get our kicks out of it.
Yeah.
You know, that's something we'll talk about when we do Videodrome. But that's besides the point. Back to whatever we were talking about here. Oh yeah, that's why I like that scene. We were talking about Michael Loomis being a piece of shit. That's why I like that scene with Chris Hardwick and Weird Al Yankovic. Yeah, Weird Al's in this movie as himself. Isn't that weird? And Chris Hardwick's just like completely like treating him like he's a hack and shit. It's hilarious.
You can
a
find
really
his
good
book
scene.
available somewhere. Throws book.
Yeah, he just throws the book off to the side. I love that. But yeah, so then Michael, we got way off track because then Michael goes to the Rabbited Red, right? And he meets this dude. Well, he doesn't meet this dude. Big Lou is there and some girl he's trying to fuck, I guess. And then what's his name? Jeff Daniel Phillips plays this bouncer, right? Named Howard Boggs. And he also plays the MC, Seymour Coffins. He plays both characters. Isn't that fun? Oh, my God. I can't wait to talk about Seymour Coffins because what a trip that was. But Howard Boggs he's a joke to Big Lou and his girlfriend, I guess. And they tell him to go take out the trash. So he goes to take out the trash. And then, like, he tries to act all tough in front of this wall of a man when Michael shows up. And he's like, hey, don't give me a reason. I already sent somebody to the fucking emergency room, all right? Don't try me. And then Michael just fucking picks him up and fucking slams him on the ground. And funny thing about this, Rob Zombie said that one of the things that kept happening, it happens twice. One of the things that kept happening was whenever they would slam a stunt person down, they would like fuck up the padding, so they would actually like injure themselves. It happened twice, and then you know Michael just curb stomps him several times. He just stomps on his head,
Smushes his face.
and again the practical effects are incredible because the way the fucking face looks because Michael goes and strings him up in the strip club, because Michael's back to his posing ways. God bless him, and his face is just like mushed. Like looks like mashed potatoes. I love it, and I just love shit like that. Meanwhile, Big Lou's trying to get his freak on with his bitch, and there's like an extended scene in the where like they're just talking, and she's like all horny and stuff, and it's gross. I don't know. And then Big Lou is just like you want to fuck the Frankenstein's monster?
I'll show you my Jolly Green Giant.
Oh God, that fucking dialogue. So then there's also an alternate take of this where they're like in the act of sex because Michael comes in like before they can even do anything. They're in the act of sex and Michael comes in and then he gets bodied after that. But this is like before like doesn't she have a line where he's like, oh, it's after midnight, you know what that means? Then she's like, oh, my pussy's not gonna turn into a pumpkin, is it? Or something like that. And I'm like, who the fuck says that?
Yeah.
Who the fuck would say that? That's so weird. Oh my god. But anyway, then Michael walks in and he's just like, what are you doing? I'll put a hole in you, bro. And then he just fucking throws him off to the side.
Breaks his arm.
Breaks his arm in a really graphic shot. Loved that. And then he like stumbles out into the hallway and he just slams his head against the thing. And then old girl's trying to get out. Michael walks up to her, just grabs her by the hair and just slams her face into a mirror until it's putty. And then he just lets her go. And then that's it. Rob Zombie.
Then he flips the open sign to closed.
You're right. Yeah. Very important character moment. But also, Rob Zombie really likes killing naked women in his movies. And he says because it's terrifying.
Is it though?
He says that it's because like he says he doesn't have naked women in his movies because he doesn't do it because he wants it to be sexy. It's because it makes it scarier because that's when you're like your most vulnerable is naked. But like he only does it with naked women. And like I don't know if that's the thing with like how maybe the producers didn't want him to like, because I know there's like this taboo thing where like dudes can't be naked for some reason in movies, and this is something that's only been broken recently in stuff like Midsummer and Men and stuff like that. But like for the longest time it's only ever been naked women, which is just weird, I guess. But like that also reminds me, there's a movie by David Lynch called Blue Velvet that has another scene with a naked woman in duress. And David Lynch said explicitly that when he was a child, he remembers walking home and seeing this naked homeless woman like just running around. And he said that he wasn't like tantalized by it. He was fucking horrified. And he said that that stuck with him for the rest of his life. And that's why he put it in Blue Velvet. So like, I get it. But like at the same time, it just feels wholly unnecessary in every fucking Rob Zombie movie.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's only with these movies it feels unnecessary. It doesn't feel unnecessary in Blue Velvet, but it feels unnecessary here. But that's besides the point. One of the other deleted scenes, extra scenes, is where this dude comes to drop off beer the following morning. The following morning, and it has a type error that says October 31st. Which I think is hilarious. But he's there, and he walks in and he sees all their bodies because Michael poses all of them, and you get another great shot of Howard's mashed potato face before Michael comes in and slits the guy's throat. But he calls what you assume to be 911. Slits Michael's throat, or not Michael's throat. He slits the dude's throat. Maybe his name was Michael. Who knows? He slits his throat. And you find out that the person he called was Lori, and Lori's like, "What do you mean? What do you mean you're okay?" And then Michael just like appears behind her and slits her throat, and then she wakes up. So it was going to be another dream sequence type thing. I'm glad it wasn't in the movie. It was kind of a cool thing for a deleted scene, but I'm glad it wasn't in the movie. Yeah. So then Michael kills all those people, whatever, and then after that is Annie, right? Yeah.
Well, first he kills the cop that's outside Annie's house.
So that's complete. There's a completely different version of this in the deleted scenes, where instead of Brad Dourif sending over an officer. By the way, when he does send over the officer, I like Danielle Harris's little "I'm shaking in my boots." I like that. I like that delivery. That was cute. But instead, Brad sends like a friend over. I think his name is Darren, and all these scenes are completely different. Darren comes over, and he's like, "Oh no, Michael kills Harley first, and old Wolf Boy first. We'll get to that in a second. Yeah. Let's talk about that first. So while they're at the party, they're all dressed. I can talk about.
Well, first this is after Lori finds out that she's that she's Michael's brother because she read the book.
Yeah, and she's like, "I want to go party." Ooh,
I don't give a fuck anymore. Let's just go get fucked up.
Like any good girl in her early 20s, she just wants to party the pain away.
Oh, that was the other thing that solidified Loomis as a piece of shit, because in the first movie, Brackett told Loomis that he knew that Lori was Michael's sister. Sorry. And he tell him, like, don't ever let this get out. Mm-hmm. And that's how that sets off Brackett because he reads the book and finds out that Loomis wrote that in there,
Yeah.
being the piece of shit that he was.
And then, so then they go out and party because of that, because Lori doesn't want to fucking think about anything. She doesn't give a
Very
fuck anymore.
stupid, overly long party scene.
With a lot of titties out, because Rob Zombie loves his titties. And you have this MC named Uncle Seymour Coffins. And in the special features is everything that was cut out of the movie, mercifully cut out of the movie. Because watching the special features, watching all 4 parts of his stand-up routine is an exercise in pain. It's just watching a man's slow, painful, drunken descent into madness as he's trying to tell these shitty fucking jokes. And a couple of those jokes make it into the movie, and they're dumb. I hate them.
It's like, what does a jack-o'-lantern and a blonde chick have in common? 3 holes. Ha 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 ha.
Well, no, it's not just that. He's like, they're exactly the same. They have a dumb face and they're both hollow inside. Ah ha ha. And it's stupid. I hate him.
Well, then he said the other things.
And then he said the other thing. Yeah, I don't care. And then Frankenfurter and Wolfman go to the shaggin' wagon, literally a shaggin' wagon, to have sex or whatever. And then old boy's like, I gotta go pee. And I'm like, yeah, I bet.
Well, then Harley's like, oh, what if I'm a fan of the waterworks? Or
Yeah, and
whatever?
it's this really weird
And
scene.
she flicks her tongue at him and is like, you're fucking gross.
That was her audition piece too. Like that's what she auditioned with. Oh my god, those were the sides they gave her. Oh my god. And then he's like, you're fucking crazy. And I think he's almost about to say, I think I love you, but then he stops himself and then he just gives her a kiss and fucking runs out. And then he's pissing. And then he dies with his dick out because Michael fucking like does some Naruto bullshit to fucking teleport behind him and fucking stab him in the back and kill him. And then he dies. And then Michael just breaks through the window of the back of the shaggin' wagon and chokes Harley to death. R.I.P. to a real one, because she liked Frankenfurter. I get it. So, and then after that, Michael goes to Annie's house and kills the cop who, in a different version of this movie, was going to be this dude named Darren, who doesn't even wait outside. He just goes to hang out with Annie. And it's funny because he's like the dorkiest looking guy in the world. And he's just talking about how like he's trying to get Annie to go to Comic-Con with him or something. And Annie's like, I don't really give a shit. Like, I don't care about Comic-Con. And like, her dad calls multiple times and she's just like, yeah, he's here. It's whatever. I don't need somebody to protect me, Dad. And he's like, well, I thought y'all were good friends. And then Annie's like, I knew him when I was like in kindergarten, Dad. I don't know him anymore. And then he's like, well, I can take you to Comic-Con. He's like, I can get you a cool suit. I can get you a cool outfit, like spandex or something, like skin tight. And she's like, skin tight? And then he's like, yeah, like you could be a superhero. She's like, I don't want to be a fucking superhero. And he like makes nachos for them. Like it's this whole thing that's just not in the movie. And I think it's kind of funny because he's just like desperately trying to like get her to like him, and she just does not give a shit. I don't know how he probably gets killed or whatever, but in the real version of the movie, what's his name?
Nameless cop.
Nameless cop. I think Neil. I don't know. He gets strangled by Michael with a rope. And then Michael goes upstairs. And Annie's just vibing, about to take a shower. And then Michael comes and starts stabbing her.
I love her initial reaction, though, when she sees him. She doesn't scream. It's just a look of just frozen terror.
Yeah, it's great. It's played very well. This is like the best part of the movie, unironically. Like, this is 100% the best part of the movie. Because you don't see what happens. You just hear it as Lori and Maya, her other friend, drive up. And then they're like talking about cookies and tea and shit.
Well, first, the ghost bullshit almost ruins it because...
Oh, yeah.
Because Michael corners Annie, and she's just like all out of breath because Michael chased her. And ghost mom appears again and is like, okay, Michael, go have some fun. And it's like, that kind of just ruined that.
Doesn't little Michael also say like, okay, mommy or something?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. Like, that great tension that scene had, and you're just like, no, Annie can't die. And then you get the ghost bullshit. And I guess Michael just cut her up, stabbed her or whatever, because there's just blood everywhere in that room.
Yeah.
And of course, had to derobe her too.
Yeah. because
So Annie's just laying there bloody and naked.
classic. Yeah, she yeah, Lori goes up to find her body, and Annie's still alive, and she's like, call 911, Maya, and Maya is calling 911. You get this cool part where Maya goes outside to try to get the number, the house number, and then Michael just fucking grabs her by the hair and drags her back in, and then he picks her up and slams her onto a table. That's the other instance where the stunt person was slammed way too hard, and then Michael just like stabs her, and like when he stabs her that second time, he like really fucking like digs it in. It's fucking gross, and then he kills her, and then Lori shuts the door, locks it, and then Annie dies in her hands. She starts crying. Michael starts breaking through the other door, and again, this was again a door that was supposed to be balsa wood that they made the sturdiest fucking door that Rob Zombie had ever seen. Tyler Mane took it as a challenge again and just broke through it like the fucking wolf man he is. And he makes it through the other side and, chases Lori off. And Lori starts running. But after that, Sheriff Brackett comes home. And, he's... and Brad Dourif... I love Brad Dourif because he's just, like, legitimately a really good actor. He's in this old X-Files episode where he plays like this psychic and that's on death row, and it's like this whole thing where after Scully's dad dies, and then like he like tells her, he's like, I can talk to him for you and all this other shit. It's a good episode. Brad Dourif is really fucking good in that episode, and he's great in this part. This is the best part of the movie, is his fucking acting in this scene, because I mentioned in the last episode that like the way he says Annie always makes me laugh, and Rob Zombie in the commentary was talking about how like there are people that think his acting is bad in these scenes, but like it's not. This is how people would react, like to seeing a loved one dead. He's like, but a lot of people laugh, but it's like it's because they're uncomfortable, and they don't realize it's because they're uncomfortable. So I thought about it, and I'm like, yeah, that's why, because it's uncomfortable to see somebody like that distraught to where they don't sound like normal, I guess,
Yeah.
So he sees her body and he just like, but like first like an officer who's played by the same guy that voices Patrick in SpongeBob SquarePants, I
knew he looked familiar.
He stops. He's like, you don't want to go in there, and Brad Dourif does this really good like, where is she? Like his acting is so good, and then he walks in. And he sees her, and he just like starts crying and like screaming, "No, no!" and then music event. So in the theatrical version, it's just music as he's like devastated. And the director's cut, you get an actual reaction out of him, and then you get the music interspersed with shots of a young Danielle Harris, which I think is really cool. And Rob Zombie said that confused a lot of people. He said, I think it's because they thought that it was supposed to be Jamie, but like. Danielle Harris was a girl at one point, so
yeah. How do you get confused by that?
I don't know. Test audiences aren't always
are you
great.
Stupid.
So I didn't want to say that, but yeah, probably. So anyway,
is that supposed to be the little girl from the other movie?
so then after that great piece of acting,
we get back to
Lori running from Michael. Lori gets to this road, and she finds this guy in a car, or she flags this guy down in a car, and at first glance I thought it was Tim Blake Nelson, but it's not. It's just some fucking nerd. And then he comes out, and he's like, I'm gonna get you to a hospital. Lori gets in the passenger seat. Michael just grabs the dude and throws him through the windshield, and then comically lifts the car and flips it over. And the dude's body is just fucking like ragdoll. And then the horn is just blaring. Now, Rob Zombie said that he made the horn blare like that because he lives in L.A. And the part of L.A. that he lives in gets a lot of car accidents. He's like, and every time there's a car accident, all you hear is the horn. Like, just like blaring for way too long. He's like, so that's what I wanted to convey here because I wanted it to make you uncomfortable. And I'm like, respect, but stop, please. And then Michael takes Lori's knocked out body and takes her to the barn. That's where we get the sequence that's completely different from the theatrical cut, where Lori's we're like young Michael is holding Lori, And then Mama Myers is like, say I love you, mommy.
Do you know how? No, she said, "Do you know who I am?" And blah blah.
Yeah,
She's like,
all that
no,
shit.
I don't. It's like, oh, say you love mommy. Like,
Yeah, it's
I
like
hate
this-
that. This was
this-
stupid.
It's this weird part, and
Like,
then
it defeats her character from the first movie because she wasn't some sadistic piece of shit. She was the only one that gave a crap about anything in Michael's life and her life in general. Like, she wasn't
yeah,
bad.
because that White Horse thing completely retcons that. Like, but
I
then,
mean, not even because it was just her giving Michael a present.
well, see, but that's the thing is that like that's what Rob Zombie was saying is he's like, well, it's all in Michael's head. This is how Michael perceives everything, and I'm like, yeah, but like, I don't want to know what he perceives. like I did like it's not necessary for
So,
this
like,
story.
what he was trying to say, he thinks his mom is evil too,
I guess.
which is dumb because she was the only one that cared.
She's the only one that cared. Like he didn't want to kill Lori. He wanted
Unless
to
he's seeing that as she's evil for killing herself and leaving him behind.
maybe,
Maybe,
but the way I read that first one is that he didn't want to kill Lori. He wanted to reunite the family. But I guess that's the thing is like the only way he can rationalize it is since his mom's dead. The only way he can reunite the family is if they're all dead or something like that. I don't know. It's I don't like it. I don't like any of that stuff.
By that, then what was Michael's plan to just kill himself after?
I guess. I mean, he knew he was, according to Rob Zombie, Michael knew he was going to die when he stabs Loomis. Like, Michael knew that there was no way out after that, so it was, like, part of the plan. And that's why, like, after Deborah is like, it's time, Michael, it's time to bring everybody home. That's how that goes. But
Okay. Then.
there's no way he could have bet on Lori fucking,
Yeah.
doing that. So there's a lot of conveniences there, right? But yeah, so then Loomis goes in there. Brad Dourif threatens to shoot him. Another great performance by Brad Dourif. Brad Dourif, ladies and gentlemen. Brad Dourif. Everybody, just give him a round of applause. Love me some Brad Dourif. Yeah, but he threatens to shoot him, and Loomis is like, all right, I'll go. And then he fucking runs into the barn, and Michael like throws him out. He stabs him after yelling "die," which is also dumb. And then,
oh, you wanted me to speak, Loomis? Here you go.
I feel like that was just Rob Zombie really trying to just break all of the rules at once. Like he was just like, oh, the other rule is that Michael can't talk. Well, I'm gonna have Michael talk.
Can't see his face. I'm gonna show it the entire movie.
Like it's the wrong way of subverting expectations. It's and I don't like it. But he stabs him, and then he gets pieced up, and then Lori gets pieced up, and then it ends.
I always hate that overly done bullshit they do when people are getting shot multiple times with the body
All the
shaking.
different camera angles and stuff. Yeah, all that shit is hilarious though. Like it's all in slow mo and stuff. And it's funny because in Halloween 4, he just kind of gets.
He just like reacts to the bullets,
And then he gets and then he falls
and
down
falls.
a well.
Like that one looked right.
But he said the reason he wrote it this way is because this was his movie. He's like, this was our movie. This is how we wanted it to end. Was with the whole. He's like, I wanted it to be a definitive end for Lori, Loomis, and Michael. He's like, because Loomis is kind of like the surrogate father of Michael. He's like, so he's like, I just wanted it to be an ending, a clear ending for all of them. He's like, because they wouldn't let me end it with the first one,
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I get it, but still, I don't know, man. I feel like he just did what he could with something that he already didn't want,
Yeah.
He didn't want to make this movie. I can tell you that for sure. And so he just kind of made the best out of it, to at least to what he thought. Because the exact quote is that he didn't want anybody to ruin his vision whenever they told him they were going to greenlight a sequel. And they greenlit that sequel without his knowledge. He did not sign on for it. He didn't do any of that. It was just going to be, okay, this is my movie. I'm done. I'm going to go work on something else. And they greenlit it without his approval. And he's like, well, fuck it. I'll do it then. And they initially wanted him back. And he was like, no, I'm done. Like, Michael's dead, dude. Like, I don't want to do it anymore. And then, but then they were like, okay, well, we're going to get these other guys to do it, And then he was just like, fine, I'll fucking do it, whatever. So, again, like we said before, it's another case of not just studio interference, but a Halloween sequel that nobody wanted to make. So here we are talking about it on a podcast. But yeah, that's Halloween 2. Any final word on it, Justin?
Well, then you get the ending part, like you said.
What the The asylum thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then-
that's supposed to be her like her final moments in her brain or whatever, how her brain's processing everything.
The horse walks up again.
Oh, yeah,
with
the
Ghost Mama.
Man, it's like my brain's trying to block that out, and you keep reminding me of it. Yeah, the horse and the mom walk in again.
I remember it differently when I first watched it.
But
Or no, it was. Okay, I guess it was the same. I guess I was just misremembering. Because I remembered for some reason when I first saw it that Lori wasn't just sitting on a bed. Like, she got up and started walking down the hall with her, and then the mom was holding her hand and little Michael's hand too.
I think that might have been a shot in the trailer.
Yeah, something.
Because that sounds familiar. But after this movie, it was still enough of a financial success, even though it was a critical failure. Like, nobody fucking liked this movie.
This movie was advertised to hell. I remember going into Hot Topic and it was just everywhere.
Yeah, nobody liked this movie. But that's the studio machine trying to make as much money as they can. And nobody liked this movie, but it made enough money to warrant a sequel. They were going to make Halloween 3D, which was going to retcon it to where Laurie was the one that killed Loomis. Not Michael, but Laurie. And then it was going to be about Laurie being the killer, I guess. And it sounds awful. I'm glad it didn't get made. And that's only one of the projects that was in between this and Halloween 2018, which I'll talk more in depth whenever we get to Halloween 2018. But yeah, this movie's not. That didn't get a sequel. I think Rob Zombie was initially gonna come back and direct it too, but then he was like, I don't want to fucking do it, man. He's like, I'm done. And now he's making the Munsters, so good for him. And it actually looks like a pretty faithful adaptation of the Munsters. So, I mean, it makes sense because Dragula is his most popular song, and it's named after Grandpa's car. So, if so, But yeah, any final thoughts on Halloween 2, Justin?
I'll probably never watch this movie again. Unless I'm just really bored and want to do a Halloween marathon again. Which will probably end up happening after Halloween Ends comes out.
Yeah.
Or maybe if we get classy enough and can have like a live watch party with people.
Yeah, that'd be cool. We could watch this and shit on it the whole time. No, like I said, it's a mixed bag for me. Like,
yeah, there are parts I like, parts that I really don't like, but I mean,
like I feel like this is very middle of the road for me. Much like Halloween 2 from 1981, it's just very middle of the road where like the pros and cons are kind of, it's at a stalemate. Like, there's sequences I still enjoy. Michael's brutality is still the best thing about the movie. The sound design is still fantastic. Some of the shot composition is great. The dialogue and character writing is atrocious, but I mean, it's Rob Zombie. So, I mean, like, I don't hate it, but, like, I also don't really like it.
yeah.
Again, like, if you had a gun to my head and you were going to force me to watch, like, if you were going to force me to pick between, like, the worst ones, I would pick this over fucking 6 and Resurrection any day because there's at least elements I like of this.
Yeah.
I like the ending. I like the whole sequence with Annie and her dad when she dies. I like the dream sequence at the beginning a little bit. I like the song at least, but
That one made sense.
yeah. And I like because there's that part where she's driving listening to like Am I Evil, which is really on the nose. And then I mean, like I said, I don't hate it, but I'm not like a super fan of this shit either. There's some people where this is their favorite Halloween movie, Justin.
I don't understand their logic.
I don't either. But, to each their own, I guess.
It's like I said, if we just took out the ghost mom bullshit, this movie would have been at least 50% better.
I'd like it a lot more. Yeah, like on it again, it still wouldn't have touched the original, but I would have liked it a lot more. I definitely would have enjoyed my time with it a lot more. But that mom stuff really like drags it out. That and the Seymour Coffin shit at the party just really like fucking stretches it, man. And because like I mentioned that the first one felt a little over long, but like this one feels way fucking overlong, like way too long.
Well, the length in the first one kind of felt necessary just because of the younger parts. Like,
Yeah.
I don't mind that, but this one was just, it dragged forever.
Yeah,
The scenes lasted too long than they should have.
Every time the mom showed up, I was like, we don't need this, man. Like, I get it. It's your vision. You want to get your wife apart, whatever the reason was. It just doesn't work for me. But, you know, part of me wishes that this movie could have been better, but part of me is glad that it wasn't, because we would not have Halloween 2018
Yes.
if this movie was a hit, which is the movie we'll be covering next week.
Can't wait to watch it again.
Cannot fucking wait to dig through all the special features, watch it with the commentary, do all of that stuff, and just gush about that movie.
2018
forever.
Halloween is what H2O should have been.
I think, yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, I can't wait. I can't wait to watch it again. And I also can't wait to cover Halloween Kills, because I know
Because
at least
I'm going to piss off a lot of fucking people.
we both are. We both are. Trust me. And we don't know what we're doing after that. But Halloween Kills is going to be the last one until Halloween Ends comes out. And we'll probably do like a little surprise episode for that one just to give our general thoughts on it. Because I don't really want to wait until the Blu-ray comes out and all that shit.
Even though we all know I'll buy it day one.
Yeah.
I'll buy it early on streaming and then buy a physical copy.
Just like you did with Halloween Kills. But yeah, Justin saw Halloween Kills in theaters.
No, I didn't.
No, you did. You just
watched
watched
it
it
on
like
Peacock.
5 times on Peacock. Yeah, that's right. I saw it in theaters with Kale. But yeah. So next week is Halloween 2018, the best movie since the original, in my opinion. Yeah, I can't wait to talk about it. So is there anything else we need to mention here? I guess just follow me on Twitter, at Mustachio Cage. DM me some movie ideas. Email us some movie ideas at goregoblins1978@gmail.com. Leave us some comments on YouTube. Subscribe.
Grow the Goblin Army.
Subscribe wherever you want to subscribe. YouTube,
So we
Spotify.
can
It don't fucking matter. All that matters is just that. I don't know what Justin said, but I'm sure you'll hear it. So yeah, thanks again for listening. We really appreciate it. We really hope this podcast grows so we can just make this a full-time thing and just talk about movies we like a lot sometimes. Not all the time, though, because there's some real stinkers out there. But yeah, so we still haven't worked out an ending, and I'm still bad at ending this. I don't know. I usually just say go to sleep. I don't fucking know.
People can't go to sleep all the time.
Yeah, it can't rain all the time. Haha, a crow. Yeah. I wish they weren't remaking that one.
Oh, why'd you remind me?
But anyway, that's the show. Thanks for listening. Stay gory.
Feed the goblins.
You stay gory, be goblins. You know how it is. It's fine. It's whatever. All right. Bye-bye. Say bye, Justin. We both say bye. Let's say bye at the same time. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Bye.
Bye.